This is music, and this is a conflicted first impressions video. Welcome to another first impressions video. In these videos, I share with you my first impressions of the many blind buys I admittedly have a tendency to pick up, but I just like going out and buy, physical music media, not knowing what I'm in for, or more or less not knowing what I'm in for, and just exploring new music. So let's get down to business. Up first, The Face of Fear by Artillery. And I also finally got around to actually listening to X by Artillery. So, these two albums, I gotta be honest, I have a hard time distinguishing between them. But I don't need Artillery to reinvent their sound for every album. I actually like what they have going on, so it's not a problem to me that these two sound alike. Now, Artillery, Danish thrash metal band, they have found a style of melodic thrash metal that combines thrashy, aggressive, fast sections with just old school traditional heavy metal riffage, and it works perfectly in my opinion. So I really enjoy these two albums. It's melodic thrash metal. Some people have described them as a power metal band. I strongly disagree with that. To me, it's melodic thrash metal. The riffage is awesome, and I also really like, I think his name is Mikael Bastholm, the vocalist. His voice just soaring kind of on top of or above the, thrash metal madness. If you like melodic thrash metal and you don't know Artillery, I do strongly suggest that you check out their more recent material. So the stuff they did from the mid-2000s and onwards. If you like rawer thrash metal, check out their early stuff. But this is great. I really enjoy it. I don't need these two albums to sound different. Up next, some death metal, a live album. I'm not a big live album guy, but here you have it, Malevolent Creation. And it's conquering South America. It's a concert they did in Brazil. As you can see, quite a lot of songs on it here. I picked this one up with a couple of other Malevolent Creation albums, and I kind of used this one as a kind of a best-of album, so I could check out some of their old stuff. Malevolent Creation, one of the many death metal bands from the 90s that I just didn't get around to checking out because there were so many of them. So I decided to pick this one up along with the more recent albums I bought, just to check out the older songs, and they're great. Old school death metal. The newer songs have some grindcore stuff. They have some black metal stuff going on too, along with the death metal stuff. So great stuff. Really, I'm definitely going to go back and check out some of their old stuff. Back in the day, for those of us that are old, we didn't have the internet, so we had to use other strategies to check out new music. One strategy would be to just take the plunge and blind buy something and hope it was good. Another strategy would be to borrow an album from one of your friends, if you had friends. And yet another strategy would be to go out and pick up a best-of album. If you're interested in a band, pick up one of their best-of albums, and that way you could sort of get an idea of what they would sound like. So I kind of used this one as a best-of album. If you like death metal, if you are a live album person, and you come across a copy of this one and it's not too expensive, I think you should grab it. It's very good. It sounds great for an extreme metal live album too. Up next, Municipal Waste, Massive Aggressive. Just the disc here, it came in a digipack. I still have the digipack. It's stored somewhere safe. A lot of people have asked me why I use these sleeves here instead of the jewel cases. It's simply because if I were to hang on to the jewel cases, I wouldn't have any space to buy new music. Because, in our apartment, I can't just take up all the space with my stuff. Other people live here. They need some space for their stuff too. So with digipacks, digibooks, all that stuff, digi-sleeves, whatever they're called, digi-wallets, I keep them. I just store them somewhere else. With special edition jewel cases, I hang on to those too. But the other jewel cases, just standard jewel cases, I get rid of them. I give them away to people, and so on and so forth. So that's why. It's simply because of space. Anyways, Municipal Waste, Massive Aggressive, beer and pizza thrash metal, lots of awesome riffage, lots of fun, lots of crossover stuff too. Very enjoyable. I mean, that's all I can say about this. It's great, enjoyable, fun, beer and pizza crossover thrash. If you like that stuff, check this album out. Up next, something quite different, Green with Rage by Naked Truth. This is, I think, from 91, and this is a blend of hard rock, a bit of metal, some funk rock, and punk, with a grungy guitar sound without it being grunge. But definitely there are some alternative rock elements too. I think it's from 91. So this is great it's from the 90s when, hard rock and metal became kind of either extreme or went in, grunge direction or alternative rock direction. And actually there's a lot of good stuff from that era. People kind of tend to boil it all down to grunge music, but there's lots of good stuff from that era as well, which is not necessarily all out grunge. And this is one of those albums. Funk, rock, hard rock, punk, great stuff with a really dirty, grungy guitar sound, but it's not grunge music. It's alternative though. So if you like that, check it out. It's kind of like maybe Living Color with a much harder edge, if that makes sense. So if you were into the kind of funky hard rock from the late 80s, early 90s, and you like a bit of punk as well, and hardcore and Bad Brains or something like that, check this one out. It's great. I really enjoy listening to it for sure. Okay, the last one, Ninja, Into the Fire. I'm really conflicted about this one, to be perfectly honest. Great name, but I was kind of disappointed when I first heard it. It starts out with a song called Frozen Time, which is a slow and heavy song. It's not bad, but it's not great. And I think it's a really weak way to open up an album, especially when it's followed by a song like Thunder, which is awesome. It's the best song, in my opinion, on the album. It's also the heaviest song. It's heavy metal with some borderline, almost semi-thrashy stuff. Great chorus. There's some fantastic guitar solos, just ripping guitar solos in all the songs, I would say. And you have some decent and pretty good songs as well. I quite like Vagabond Heart, actually. That's a ballad, but I quite like it. Masterpiece is pretty good too. Musically, Coward is actually probably the second best song musically. Last Chance is almost kind of quasi semi-progressive, or looks in the direction of some milder progressive stuff. The title track, Into the Fire, is a bit more of a, I would say, semi-epic ballad. So you have some pretty good songs on here, but you also have a song like Hot Blonde Shot, which is terrible in my opinion, atrocious. And Supernatural is not great either, to be honest. So you have some pretty bad, in my opinion, pretty bad songs. The style is probably it's best described as hard rock, with some elements of heavy metal, some elements of musically of glam metal. And I can kind of recognize some influences from AC/DC, from Kicks, from Motley Crue, from Judas Priest, and so on and so forth. So, but very often it kind of comes across as a poor man's version of those bands. And that, I think that's fine in some cases, but in other cases, it just doesn't work for me. So I'm really conflicted about this. The vocals are interesting too. At times, it sounds like Biff Byford with a German accent, and there's nothing wrong with the German accent, obviously. And there's nothing wrong with sounding like Biff Byford, obviously. But at other times, the vocals strike me as being kind of weak, at least to me. Other people might find it, perfect. So I'm conflicted about the vocals too, and the lyrics, I think in general, are just terrible, to be honest. This is what the disc looks like. It looks pretty cool. Looks kind of cheesy, but in a cool way. But the lyrics, I think, are not great. Just to give you an example. Hot blonde shot. The chorus is, she was a hot blonde shot from Scandinavia. So it's a song about a dude hanging out in Amsterdam, getting jiggy with it with a woman from Scandinavia. So it might be a true story, I don't know, but it kind of combines, I think, kind of like two fantasy things that a lot of, I think, old school rock and roll guys kind of had, like Amsterdam with its coffee shops, and then the blonde tall ladies from Scandinavia. It kind of combines those, and I think it's not great. I think it's a bit, I don't know if pathetic is too strong a word, but it's in that neighborhood. Another example is the song Coward, which is great musically. I think it's a great song musically. But the lyrics, I can read out the entire song for you, and then, because it's not that long. So take your time and listen to my words. I want to talk to you even though it hurts. You're the man I supposed to be my friend. You were the man I used to defend. You pretend that you're always busy. I think to myself, you turned into a pussy. And then you have now the chorus. You are just another coward, a family man. Just another coward, a nobody man. Here and now, I want you to decide to make a stand for what's wrong or right. Do you want to go or do you want to stay? Look straight into my face or get out of my way. So basically, the lyrics kind of accuse somebody who has probably established a family and who no longer has the time, or maybe no longer wants to go out and do lad stuff, do bro stuff, to get it, I don't know, get into trouble. To me, it sounds like this is somebody who had a friend. They used to get into lots of trouble together. His friend now met a person, established a family, realized that his friend can't really get into trouble anymore because his family relies on him, and his family is probably more important to him now than getting into trouble. So it's basically a person being angry at another person because this other person has had a normal life trajectory. So the way I view it, this song really is somebody who hasn't moved on with his life, complaining that another person has moved on with his life. I don't think that's the intention, but that's how I read it, and it comes across, again, kind of pathetic. And also, you're a coward, a family man. Being a family man is not necessarily the same thing as being a coward. It takes a lot of work to be a family man. So, the lyrics kind of like that, kind of weak lyrics. I don't like the lyrics, to be perfectly honest. And some of the songs also have a little bit of homophobic language in them, which is just not cool. I don't know if they were intended to come across homophobic, but they do come across homophobic, and that's just not cool. So Ninja, Into the Fire, I'm really torn about this one. There's stuff I like and there's stuff I don't like. There's some very good songs on here, some great guitar solos, and there are also some, in my opinion, atrocious songs. And then the lyrics are just terrible, I think. So I don't know what to think about this one. I probably need to spin it more. But there you go. A bit of a conflicted first impressions video this time. But if any of this sounds like you want to check it out, do yourself a favor and check it out. Thanks for watching.